Hello, everyone. This is Anurag Saxena. Thank you so much for being a subscriber to my channel and watching this video. I've got an overwhelming response from the subscription to my channel. Thank you very much. Today, we are going to touch upon a very hot topic, which is Agile in a distributed team or global teams or offshore teams. As you know, I go to a lot of conferences. I talk to a lot of thought leaders in the Agile world. I go to a lot of meetups, do some talks, and I have my own YouTube channel that you're listening this from probably. This is a very hot topic these days. There are various enterprises that have their engineers that are kind of scattered all over the world, and they don't know how to be agile with such a distributed engineer base. So we're going to look at some of the scenarios that are possible and some of the models that work. What are some of the salient features of those models? And what are some of the pitfalls and some of the things to avoid when you're building teams in Agile? So this is, I'm assuming it's an enterprise level. You have lots of engineers, lots of teams, okay? Let's look at the first model. Okay, let's say you see all these dots that are kind of gathered around these cities. Let's say you have a bunch of engineers in San Francisco, a bunch in London, Bangalore, and Tokyo. You can see, it's kind of spanning the whole globe. So what do you do in this kind of a situation? I think it is very intuitive just by looking at this picture. What you want to do is, and let's say your product owner, this gentleman in red is your product owner, okay, or your business analyst who's close to the business. It's very intuitive to form teams that are co-located by the cities here. Okay, so do the intuitive thing: create teams in San Francisco, create teams in London, create teams in Bangalore, create teams in Tokyo. Okay, and as you know, Agile team is going to be most effective, most productive if they're small. So for example, if you have, let's say, 10 developers in Bangalore, you want to have 2 or 3 teams there. Okay. If you have, let's say, 6 developers in London, you want to have 2 teams there. Okay. Each team needs to have a Scrum Master, right? You can see this green circle that's indicating the Scrum Master. You can have 1 Scrum Master, you can have multiple Scrum Masters. Again, I'm using these terms very loosely. Okay, Scrum is one of my favorite Agile methodologies. I'll be using a lot of Scrum specific terminologies here, but they're applicable to anything Agile. So in this case, you can have the product owner in San Francisco. You have teams that are clustered by city. Okay, and every location has 1 or more Scrum Master, depending on how many teams you have in that city. So this is a model that I call the team cluster, okay, model 1. Some of the things that you may want to be careful when you are working in such model is I've seen companies who, it is very obvious looking at the map like this, but there are companies who decide to use, or create teams that have members still located in different geographical locations, like far apart from each other. Maybe a couple of developers in San Francisco, a couple of developers in Bangalore forming into 1 team. Okay, really bad idea. So some of the salient features in this model 1 team cluster is Scrum Master in this scenario also need to play a role of an associate product owner. Okay, as you can see, product owner is only located in San Francisco. Okay, you may have product owners here and there, but it is not unusual to have product owner presence at the main location, and they're writing the stories, but the teams are geographically located in different places. So the Scrum Master needs to be an associate product owner. What it means is that they need to understand the business context where the development is being done. They should be able to help the product owner prioritize, or they should be able to help the team locally answer some of the functional questions or business questions, help them understand where their work is going to fit in the big picture, and be able to answer questions during the day, because they'll have questions and they need them to be answered quickly. it is a really good idea to have a Scrum chief co-located with product owner. So in this case, in San Francisco, it'll be a great idea to have a Scrum chief who can, on a regular basis, talk to the Scrum master. This is not an on-site coordinator or just a contact person for every location. These are, it's a Scrum chief who can talk to the Scrum masters at any time, given the urgency. And these Scrum masters, they come together on a regular basis, like at least once a week, for example, to understand, how the development is going, what the teams need, right? How they're progressing, and how everything is going to, how every team's work is going to fit in to the bigger product, or, it's well aligned. Something similar to a Scrum of Scrum, but in a global structure. Within the team, the communication should be whiteboarding. Okay, it has to be, very rich communication. How the whole reason you're building a co-located team is because your engineers can have these thousands of micro communication during the day while they're working. Okay, and that is very rich. Okay, that is really the power of co-location. So if your team is co-located, please encourage a lot of whiteboarding. Okay, all the designing, everything should be on whiteboards, okay, which is the richest and the most effective form of communication. Also, everything pertaining to your sprints or your iteration, you have to do planning, demo, retro, all those should be done with the product owner, okay? The chances are you'll be doing it once every sprint, and each sprint is 2 weeks long. Once a product owner may have to take calls at odd hours to be able to do this planning, demo, and retro. Okay, so this is team clusters model. Now, what if your team is not clustered by cities, right? So let's see that scenario, which is what you see in this map, where your engineers are kind of scattered all over the world. Okay, you have a bunch in California and Texas and the east and west coast of US, someone in Toronto, somebody in Rio, scattered in Eastern and Western Europe, a few in Russia, a few in India, a couple in China, and somebody in Philippines, let's say. Okay, it looks like a hypothetical model, but you'll be surprised. Big enterprises, they have engineers all over the world, in small pockets. What do we do in such case? Okay. You may want to bunch your team together in a time zone fashion. So in this case, you can combine the engineers who are working in California and Texas together in one team. Okay, people who are on the eastern coast of US and close in one team. In this case, you can see Rio is somewhat closer to the time zone of New York. So the engineer who's working in South America can be part of the team that's on the east coast of US. In Europe, again, okay, you want to bunch the team together by time zone. And again, keep in mind, so in this case, you have bunched, engineers in UK, Poland, Italy together. Remember, your Agile team needs to be small. So don't want to bunch everybody who's in Europe into one big giant team, okay? You want to be smart. Using time zone as your consideration would go a long way. So in this case, you can see the Europe team is kind of split in two teams, right? In one team, you have the Western European, the other team, you have the Eastern European engineers. And then you can have on the Asia side, you can have team in India and Russia together in one team. And then, same thing on the Asia Pacific region. Okay, so in this case, your product owner may also be in California, right? This red gentleman here, and your development teams, they are formed these rectangles that you see, and they're close to each other in terms of time zones. Okay, again, because we are working in a Scrum or an Agile environment, you need to have a Scrum master, or Scrum lead, or an Agile coach in all those teams, right? in that time zone or that region itself. Okay, so the trick here is to keep your engineers closer together in the same time. So there's a huge benefit to that because you'll be able to interact more. There's a tendency of being able to travel easily, being able to do video chats, being able to see each other's body language, and having more interactive, involved, and effective communication within the team. Remember, communication is the key. Okay, so the closer these engineers are to each other within the team, it's going to be more and more productive. That team is going to be more and more productive and effective. Okay, so this is a model that is clustered by region or time zone. Okay, so this is model 2. Again, some of the salient points here when you're working in this kind of a model are, again, Scrum Masters that you see these green circles. They have to act as an associate product owner. Okay, same thing as before. Okay, again, Scrum Chief, who's actually co-located with the product owner, who has to be an engineer, right? But they have to be a chief who has access to all these Scrum Masters, all these green bodies here at any given time. Okay, being able to come together more frequently, or regularly, during the execution of the development. Video chats. So within the team, like I was saying, video chats are great. Okay, because you're not physically located at the same location, but you're in the same time zone. This should not be a problem. All the tools these days, whether you're using GTM, WebEx, Zoom, Skype, Google Hangout, all of them, they provide a video capability. They're, it's 2017. It's very, the bandwidths are pretty high. You can easily do video chats. Using collaborative tools for designing, right? We're all engineers. We, like to draw things. We like to communicate using drawings or models or, some kind of a modeling languages. There are all these tools like Google Drawings, GenMyModel, Usage Charts. There's so many that allow you to have a collaborative tool, meaning, more than one hands can work on the same drawing and have the view at the same time, and how everybody's changing that drawing or a model. Okay, it's very useful. I use this all the time. Cannot imagine being able to work without it, even in a co-located kind of a scenario. Also, again, planning, demo, retro, that needs to be done with product owner, right? Depending on how long your sprint and your iterations are. Also, it's important to mingle frequently. So whoever in the same region, like for example, these folks who are in the eastern coast of US, that team, East Coast US team, Florida folks can travel to New York sometimes. Somebody who's in Rio can travel to Florida or New York. The more you mingle, the more interactive face-to-face discussion that you would have, the better chemistry and synergy that you're going to build within the team. Okay, remember, this is not a co-located scenario where everybody is coming to the same office in New York office every day. So it's important to budget time and money to travel so that the team members can mingle with each other from time to time. Okay, let's go on to another scenario where you have even more distribution. Okay, you can see that there's a couple in California with the product owner, somebody in New York, South America, a couple of them in Europe at different locations, and a few in the APAC and somebody in Australia here. So what do we do in this case? Okay, so my suggestion is do not do this. Okay, just plain and simple. This is a terrible idea. Never have your engineers scattered all over the world, which is that it is impossible for them to communicate with each other. They're in different time zones, different physical locations, probably in different cultures as well, speaking different languages. It is impossible to be able to form a team, let alone an agile team, in this kind of a fashion. Okay, so do not do this. You'll be surprised how many times enterprises and companies that try to achieve some kind of a synergy in this kind of a scattered developers do not try to do this, which is also a good segue into some of the pitfalls and anti-patterns. So let's see what they are. As you all know, anti-patterns is something that, initially it looks like a good idea, but in the long run they don't work, or it's terrible, or it slows people down. So when you're trying to build high-performing agile teams using a distributed members around the world, some of the anti-patterns here, like for example, trying to assign daily tasks. Okay, it may appear as a good idea initially, right? Because everybody's distributed. When they wake up, they should know what they should be doing during the day. Okay, it is a terrible idea. Okay, because they become so dependent on daily tasks, and it's almost like somebody's dictating what to do every day. Okay, it's not healthy for an agile team to be effective. Handoffs, or two stand-ups, right? End of the day, beginning of the day, from different time zones. They are a huge waste. Okay, you can imagine if you have 3 people from each side doing stand-ups for, let's say, 20 minutes or 15 minutes, from 2 different time zones. First of all, there's going to be a noise in the communication. You'll not be able to hand off everything, most effectively, because, you'll be sleeping. One of the, few of the members in the team will be sleeping when others are awake. Also, you'll end up doing these kind of handoffs at odd hours. I've been in handoff meetings that happen at midnight or 5 in the morning. It's a terrible time for engineers to be doing handoffs. Communication using emails or meeting recordings is also a bad idea. Okay, emails, I say that they're the new snail mails. Within the team, you should never be using emails. Okay, no matter whether you're located in the same city, in the same office, or in the same time zone. Do not use emails. They're just passive. They're very non-interactive form of communication. Same thing with the meeting recordings, right? It's how many times you record a meeting thinking that the other members in the team would hear that meeting and be able to grasp everything that happened. Okay, guess what? Nobody likes to play back meetings. Okay. Also, people find it as a good excuse to skip meetings. Even the ones who are attending the meetings, just because it is recording, they stop paying attention, because they have this notion that they can always go back and play back and grasp everything. Never happens. Another bad idea is making engineers work in shifts. Right? Somebody who's in Europe, right? But your headquarters or your product owner, Scrum chiefs are in US. Make the people in Europe work US hours, US business hours. It's a terrible idea, okay? Because they'll end up starting their work at noon or in the afternoon, work late in the night. Okay, it's a really weird kind of work schedule. Don't want to do that. Also, there's a notion of having longer sprints, thinking, okay, we're geographically separated. Okay? There's going to be noise in the communication. There's going to be some delays in getting clarity. So why not just give us more time in the sprint? That also is a bad idea, okay? Because guess what? You are already starting with the notion that we are going to do slow development, okay? We're not going to deliver fast, okay? The chances are, if you make your sprints shorter, automatically you'll be forced to use more interactive form of communication. Okay, so these are some of the anti-patterns and some of the pitfalls that you want to avoid when you are building, trying to build a high-performing, empowered, agile teams in a distributed or a global setup. So thank you very much. Hope this was useful. And it took me a long time to put this together and these models and, think about these things. A lot from the experience myself. So next week or in a couple of weeks, I'll try to bring you another new hot topic and try to condense everything that is useful for everybody who subscribed to my channel or is listening to this video. Thank you very much.